Hi, it's Laura from Lunarfire Astrology, and I'm here to talk to you about the full moon in Aquarius, which is taking place on Wednesday, the 29th of July, 3:35 p.m. BST time. Now, I am going to attempt to share the chart of this full moon, which is new for me. And you'll have to bear with me me getting used to technology. I'm definitely not there yet with being able to circle symbols and the planets and things on the chart, or even do separate charts for the signs at the moment. But at least you'll have a visual of what the chart looks like, and I'll try and explain it as best as I can. I will be talking about each sign and how this lunation is affecting everybody. But to start with, I'm just going to talk about the meaning of this full moon. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. So this is the full moon chart. Okay. So the full moon in Aquarius is bringing something to fruition through the ability to really step back for a moment and gain perspective and clarity. There's a sense of a pressure valve being released. It's a moment of truth that wakes you up. Something has to give. It's intense, yes, but also liberating. It's like breaking out of a straitjacket that's been confining you to who you think other people or society want you to be. The sun in Leo is sitting with Jupiter, shining the spotlight a whole lot brighter on who you're deciding to be. It's a journey to discover your courage to be seen, to show up, to share the talents that you possess. But it's a fine line with Jupiter. There can be an excessive need for the spotlight, and that can bring drama for some. An overinflated sense of self is likely to meet the sharp pinhead of Pluto in Aquarius sitting opposite, and the bubble bursts. The denied or undetected power of the collective will expose what's false. With Pluto sitting next to the moon, it's intense. There could be deep-rooted fears surfacing around having the spotlight on all of you. But there's a huge amount of growth available. We're invited into higher emotional consciousness, courtesy of an ego detox. Intense but deeply transformational. It's about no longer being afraid to be you, honoring the shadows as well, not shrinking or minimizing your power. The symbolic image associated with the degree of this full moon, which is 6 of Aquarius, is a child born out of an eggshell. This represents breaking away from the old ways to discover the true self through a sudden and somewhat destabilizing process of breaking out of a protective shell. Are you doing or saying what you think others expect or want to hear because of tradition or societal patterns, or are you part of a new way to be? Who's coming with you and who's not on this more liberated path? You might want to look at what personal placements you have within a few degrees of 6 of Aquarius in your chart, because this will be particularly impacted if you do by this full moon. Now consider this Aquarian cycle. What was unfolding for you on or around these dates? The 29th of January 2025 was a seed point. It was a new moon in Aquarius starting off this whole cycle. 29th of October 2025 was a check-in point. It was the first quarter moon in Aquarius, which was a bit of a review around this whole story. And then finally, the 29th of July 2026, this week, is the culmination of that story. The ruler of this lunation is Uranus in Gemini. So there could be some pretty sudden shifts, even if it's just your mindset. A conversation or a piece of communication could provide the revelation. Of course, Uranus points us back to the cradle or the basket configuration that us astrologers have been harping on about, and it's still active for a while yet. So if we act on this sudden realization, step towards that future self, feeling the fear and doing it anyway, then there is support. Saturn, however, is the co-ruler of this moon, because Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius, whereas Uranus is the modern ruler. So Saturn's just gone retrograde in Aries on the 26th of July, meaning that it's asking you to review, what do you really desire? Is what you're building really what you want? And you can reclaim your will and course correct as necessary. So this alters things a little. Realizations might hit, but then there might need to be a considered approach that's thought through around just how you're going to reclaim your agency, along with a clearer vision of what you want your future to look like. Just hours later, early on the 27th of July, the North Node is moving into Aquarius. It's all going on this week again, where it's going to stay for about 18 months. So we're leaving behind the North Node in Pisces, where we've been called to surrender to the flow, to welcome in a more spiritual and introspective direction, whilst letting go of the need to always have all the details of how things are going to unfold, which is the South Node in Virgo. Now we're journeying into Aquarius, which is encouraging us further towards equality and collective empowerment. It's future focused, it's outside of the box, it's visionary. At the same time, though, the South Node in Leo, it's going to immediately sit with the fixed royal star Regulus, bringing a karmic release around excessive pride, where wealth and power are misaligned or even in the wrong hands. From this autumn, Jupiter is going to amplify this story when it too sits with the South Node. Pluto is already in Aquarius, and it's going to sit with the North Node in Aquarius next autumn, suggesting a deep transformation of humanity and the vision of our collective future. The energy is shifting towards collective evolution versus solely on an individual level. Friendships could shift or evolve, and having the right community is set to become more and more important. Now, I pull an angel oracle card at random for each of these lunations, and this time I pulled the card Acceptance. The cards never lie. And this is the meaning of that card. See yourself and others through the eyes of the angel, with unconditional love and acceptance. In this way, you inspire and lift everyone to their highest potential. And I think this really speaks to this full moon in Aquarius, which is all about being a bit different, you know, and embracing your weird and wonderful self, all the parts of you. If you have your North Node in Aquarius, you'll be experiencing your nodal return within the next year and a half. And this is like a check-in point with your evolutionary path. And it's a nudge towards embracing your ability to break the mold, to embrace those quirks and that unconventional path, and detach from being too concerned with approval or performance. If you have your North Node in Leo, however, you'll be experiencing your nodal opposition. This is like a karmic clearing around releasing patterns of being so bothered about what the group needs that you forget your own, and you don't allow your own talents to be recognized. Lean into your own joy and sense of fun. Nodal activations make the unconscious conscious and helps us to avoid staying stuck only in our inherent gifts, which come naturally to us. Venus in Virgo is squaring Mars in Gemini at this lunation exactly, which is a tense aspect. This could create some tension in our relationships, particularly around how we communicate. Precision and clarity versus debate and impulsiveness. However, we do need friction for attraction, for sparks to fly, and to make progress. And I'll leave you with this question before I move on to the signs. What sudden realization is asking you to act differently, to break free, even if it feels uncomfortable or new? So if any of this resonates, whether it's this part of the video or the explanation of what's going on for your sign, then please like, share, subscribe. And if you'd like to go deeper for what's coming up for you this year or have a natal chart reading, then please check out my offerings in the link below. Okay, so we're going to start with Aquarius. Who else? So this lunation is happening in your first house. Now, when we look at the chart, of course, this is fixed charts, so it's just set for the moment, and so the first house is not in Aquarius. But if you just imagine that, where you can see The moon, which is like what you'd expect a crescent moon shape to be like, that's where the Aquarian moon is sitting, okay? And that would be your first house, okay? And then you can adjust based on your sign. If Capricorn, then this full moon in Aquarius is sitting your second house, and I'll explain as I go through. But just so you know, the first house won't be showing necessarily the moon in the right place, okay? So Aquarius, this is a breakthrough in your identity. You're shedding an old shell, a protective shell, and stepping into a freer, more truer version of yourself. The full moon releases the parts of you that have been confined by expectation, especially in relationships. A new self-image is emerging, unfiltered, and it's all of you. And we look at Saturn as well, and that's retrograde in Aries in your third house. So this is a deep review around how you think, how you communicate, and what you're building in your connections. Old kind of mental patterns, defensive reactions, or habitual ways of expressing yourself are up for correction. Meanwhile, Uranus, which of course is also the co-ruler of this lunation, is electrifying your creativity, your joy, your self-expression in your fifth house. There could be sudden inspiration, a creative breakthrough, or a surprising romantic spark that helps you to act differently. Your voice becomes freer when your heart is allowed to play. Okay, Aquarius. Capricorn. This lunation is in your second house. So there's a revelation around your self-worth, money or values, and something shifting around how you value yourself and what you're no longer willing to compromise. You're reclaiming your power over your resources. And Saturn is retrograde in Aries in your fourth house. So you're reevaluating your foundations, your home, your family patterns, your emotional roots. And Saturn's asking you to confront what feels unstable or outdated. Whereas Uranus, which is in your sixth house, is shaking up your daily routines, your work rhythms, or your well-being habits. And there could be a sudden shift in how you organize your life, which is helping you to break free from that inherited conditioning. Okay, Capricorn? And then Sagittarius, this is falling in your third house. So this could be sudden insight, a conversation, or a message that just changes everything. Your mindset shifts, revealing a new way of thinking or communicating that the world needs to hear. Speak your truth, and the answers are inside you, not out there. Saturn is retrograding in Aries in your fifth house. So you're reviewing what you express, how you express your joy, your creativity, your kind of romantic connections, and your personal authenticity. Saturn is slowing you down so you can reclaim what feels true there. Whereas Uranus, the co-ruler of this full moon, is in your seventh house, bringing perhaps some surprises in relationships, sudden clarity, unexpected conversations, or shifts around partnership dynamics. Your creativity and your connections evolve together, pushing you towards more honest self-expression. Scorpio. This full moon is in your fourth house, so there could be an emotional release at home or within your inner world. Old family patterns or inherited expectations come to the surface. Liberate yourself from the past and create space for a more authentic foundation. A powerful inner rebirth is available if you're not too focused on the next achievement or career goal. Saturn is retrograding in Aries in your sixth house. So there's a reconsideration of work, health, and daily habits. And it's asking you to rebuild your systems with intention. Uranus, however, the co-ruler of this full moon in Gemini, is in your eighth house, which is shaking up deeper emotional layers, shared resources, intimacy, or psychological patterns. A sudden insight could emerge into your fears or attachments, which is helping you to restructure your life in a healthier and freer way. Libra. This is in your fifth house, and it's a breakthrough in your creativity, joy, or self-expression. You're reclaiming the right to be seen for who you truly are. Old performance patterns fall away, a more liberated, playful version of you wants to emerge. If you can extract yourself from what the group wants, do you even really want to be in that group anyway? Saturn is retrograding in Aries in your 7th house. So you're reviewing what your relationship commitments, boundaries, and agreements are meaning for you. Saturn is highlighting what needs kind of renegotiation. Whereas Uranus, the co-ruler of this full moon, is electrifying your worldview. There could be sudden shifts in your beliefs, your direction, education, or spiritual journey. A new perspective helps you to show up differently in partnership and with more honesty and freedom. Virgo, this is showing up for you in your 6th house. So there's a shift in your routines, your work or your well-being. Something's clicking. There's a realization around what's no longer sustainable for you. And you're invited to break free from habits that keep you small in order to create space for healthier, more aligned systems. Where you feel the need to keep performing is actually where you need to think about where you need to rest. Saturn is retrograding in Aries in your 8th house. So it's asking you to confront deeper fears, shared finances, themes, and intimacy patterns or emotional entanglements. Whereas Uranus, the co-ruler of this moon, is in your 10th house, bringing unexpected movements in career visibility or long-term goals. There could be a breakthrough in your public life that helps you to release old emotional burdens and reclaim your power. Leo, this is in your 7th house. A relationship truth surfaces. The pressure valve releases around how you show up with others. Old dynamics reveal what's real and what's performative. A more authentic way of relating creates a sense of freedom. Saturn is retrograding in Aries in your 9th house. And so you're reevaluating your beliefs, your philosophies, or the kind of long-term big picture. Saturn is slowing you down so you can choose a more aligned direction. Whereas Uranus, the co-ruler of this moon in Gemini, is in your 11th house, which is shaking up your friendships, your groups, and your community involvement. New connections or sudden shifts in your social world will help you to expand your horizons in a fresh and liberated way. Cancer. This full moon is in your 8th house. This is a deep emotional or psychological breakthrough. Something unexpected could come to fruition around shared resources, investments, or passive income. Liberation comes through emotional vulnerability and intimacy, not just by playing safe. Saturn is retrograde in Aries in your 10th house. So there's a review around what you're building publicly or in your career, your reputation, and your long-term ambitions. It's asking for integrity and saying that it's okay to course correct and set boundaries where necessary. Whereas Uranus, the co-ruler of this full moon in Gemini, is in your 12th house, activating your subconscious, bringing sudden intuitive hits, messages through dreams or intuition. And this is the way that truths surface. A revelation comes from within, which is helping you to redirect your public path with clarity and authenticity. Gemini, this is sitting in your 9th house. And there's a revelation which shifts your worldview. A new journey or direction frees you to think bigger and outside of the box. Small details can get blown out of proportion, so look up once in a while. There's a whole world out there. Saturn is retrograde in Aries in your 11th house, so you're reconsidering your friendships, your group roles, and collective involvement. It highlights where you've outgrown certain circles or perhaps just need to place some boundaries. And the co-ruler of this full moon, Uranus in Gemini, is actually in your 1st house, electrifying your identity. There could be sudden shifts in your self-image, your direction, or personal expression. A new sense of self helps you to choose your community more intentionally. Taurus. This lunation is in your 10th house of career and visibility, and there could be a breakthrough there. There's a protective shell that's cracking around who you believe that you had to be professionally due to inherited identity patterns. A more aligned calling or direction is emerging, and you're stepping into your power with more clarity instead of hiding away. Saturn is retrograde in Aries in your 12th house. So there's a deep internal review, subconscious patterns going on, avoidance habits, spiritual healing. And Saturn's asking you to face what you've been carrying alone. Uranus, the co-ruler of this full moon in Gemini, sitting in your 2nd house, is shaking up your finances, your values, and sense of self-worth. A sudden realization around what you truly value helps you to release old inner blocks. Aries, the full moon is in your 11th house. There's a shift around friendships, groups, or community, and you're breaking free from roles that no longer fit there. New connections aligned with your future self begin to form. Collective empowerment brings forth your vision of the future rather than having to perform or worrying about being liked. Now, Saturn in Aries is retrograde in your 1st house. So you're reevaluating your identity, your direction, and personal agency. It's slowing you down so that you can act from authenticity. Whereas Uranus, the co-ruler of this full moon in Gemini, is in your 3rd house, and it's bringing breakthroughs in communication, mindset, learning, and in your connections. A new way of thinking is helping you step into a freer version of yourself. And last but not least, Pisces. This full moon is in your 12th house. This is a subconscious awakening. A truth arises from beneath the surface, illuminating old patterns of avoidance or self-sacrifice. You're releasing what's been hidden and stepping into a clearer, freer inner landscape. What you're working on behind the scenes brings rewards later on, but make sure you make time for rest. Saturn in Aries is retrograding in your 2nd house. So you're reviewing finances, your sense of self-worth, and material foundations. Saturn's asking you to rebuild your relationship with security, whereas Uranus, the co-ruler of this full moon in Gemini, which is in your 4th house, is shaking up your home, your family, your emotional roots. There could be sudden changes or insights that help you to break free from old familial patterns. A new foundation supports a stronger sense of value and self-worth. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen there so you can see me once again before I say goodbye. So thank you very much for listening. And don't forget, if this resonates, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to go deeper in a reading and find out more about my offerings, then please find the link below. So happy full moon, everyone, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.